We need more people involved with youth. We need every single parent and every family involved in youth. We've got a ton of stuff that our needs are amongst us here in our area. But who's going to step up, and fill the gap? Well, here's what I have in mind. I want to have a strategic planning meeting on December the 4th, 9 a.m. at the Connection Center. And it's not just limited to church members, ministry team leaders, but any of you who will be willing to take up a leadership input, if you'll come and work together on formulating a plan. And this is how it's going to go. It's really simple. I want to make it just so clear and so simple. And it's this. We have this vision to be a community of faith. Okay, so we'll all come together, all these leaders, those who want to take up the work and planning how that's going to come to be. Make that vision real. And so we're going to get together and we're going to say in 2011, 2012, we're going to plan. We're going to become a culture of planners ahead of time. We're going to be like Nehemiah. We're going to plan ahead of time and then bring action so the vision becomes real. How do we become a community of faith? I mean really a community of faith in all the biblical sense of it. How are we going to do that for the next 2 years? How are we going to introduce them? Then we'll move to phase 2. How are we going to become a congregation that is really introducing people to Jesus? How are we doing that? How are we going to do that in 2011, 2012? And then help people fall in love with Jesus. How are we going to do that? Let's make a very clear, concrete plan on how we're going to enable people to be better discipling and disciplers and discipled. How are we going to do it? How's it going to happen? Because here, and now at the tender age of 53, I've realized that unless we work together in the strategic plan of it, it's not going to get done. It's not supposed to be just Tom's plans and Tom's ideas. It's got to be all of ours working together towards a common vision. And so all those who would be leaders, those who would want to give input, come to the Connection Center, December the 4th, 9 a.m. Because here's my formula right here for vision reality. And that is simply this: prayer plus planning plus action equals the reality of a vision. This works everywhere, in everything. Your own personal life, in your family, in New Song. Prayer plus planning plus action. Now acting upon that plan will bring that reality, that vision to reality. So I hope and pray that you'll come, because we need a vision-driven plan. And the thing is, Nehemiah goes on here, and he, after you get out of verses 13 through 16, as he shares, he's got his plan. Now he realizes he's not going to build this wall himself. I love this statement where he says, let us rebuild the walls. He's calling upon everyone to be participant. In New Song, every member is a minister. We don't have just one, we're all ministers. We all need to be involved. Why did these people say yes? When he said, come let us rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, we'll no longer be in disgrace. Why did the people say yes? I think this is immense. I've been struggling over this all week. Why did the people say yes? They had been there for years living in squalor, living in disgrace. And they hadn't done anything about it yet. But this guy from out of town comes and he says, and they say yes, after he says, let us rebuild the walls. What is he, like Zig Ziglar or something? Is he like a motivational speaker? And this guy shows up. And all of a sudden he says, hey, your walls are busted. Let's build them. Yeah, sure. Good idea. We never thought about that before. I don't think that was it. I think we're getting what we need to know from the text that he said, I think there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. And it's simply this. He shared the vision God gave him for rebuilding his walls. He shared this vision. And so it's a vision-driven participation that he communicated. And look what he said. God's hand is upon me, upon the king. God's in this, he's saying. God is in this vision. And he motivated the people by the vision. It's a vision-driven participation. God's got his hand in this. Matter of fact, look what God's already done already. I spoke to the king. I spoke to the king of the world. And I made these requests out of him. I need letters. I need permission to go. And I need permission to go and build a wall that you had already decreed this city would never be rebuilt. And by the way, I need some lumber for it. And by the way, I need some letters for protection. And by the way, he threw in his own army to go with me. And he's going to support this mission. Look what God has already done. Don't you see? He convinced them, folks, on the vision. And that's what I am imploring on all of us today, is to prayerfully wrap your mind around the vision of what it really means to be a community of faith. What does it look like? Can you see it? Because from that moment on, Nehemiah lived for the vision. From that moment on, he persuaded the people to buy into the vision. And they did by their participation. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I'll pick on Jim Yerson back here. I just saw him because he kind of stands out. It's like I'm looking over across the crowd. Doing, there's Jim. And I'm thinking about 3 years ago. He got a vision. And I believe it was godly backed for CR. And look at that ministry has grown over the last 3 years, and all the people is blessed. Because then they took that vision and they prayed about it and they planned, and man did they plan. Excellent plan. And they acted upon it. And it's now reality. You can see it. And I hear and I see people all the time who have hurts, habits, and hang-ups, and they're sent down there and they're being ministered to, and their lives are being changed. That's just one ministry, one area. The vision is becoming real. God's got his hand in it. God's got his hand in this vision. Look what he's done so far. People have caught it. They have bought it. And they're partnering. Who are they partnering with? You know, they're partnering with God. It's more than partnering with Nehemiah. They're partnering with God. And I pray that we will see that what we're doing here, you're not just partnering with me, not just with leadership team. We're partnering with God in this vision. He wants us to be a community. He wants us to introduce people to Jesus. He wants us to grow deeper in love with Jesus Christ. This is his desire. How are we going to make it happen? What is our plan to make it happen? And then he follows up with, finally, this vision-driven protection. Because I've said it all my Christian life, that as soon as you get a vision, as soon as you pray and make a plan, and you get ready to act, then you're going to have the enemies of God come against you in some way, shape, or form. In this case, it's Sanballat and it's Tobiah, and there'll be others that are going to come against Nehemiah. And they come against him subtly at first, and then it's more in your face, and it's going to be threatening their very lives. And they're coming against Nehemiah. They mocked him and they ridiculed him. And I want to finish up with his answer here. Check out his answer, okay? I just want to conclude with his answer. Look what he says. He says, the God of heaven will give us success, but as for you, you don't have any part in this. Do you realize what he's saying? Do you realize what Nehemiah is saying to these people? This is a vision-driven protection against the enemies that will come against God's people doing God's work, God's plan. Here it is. He looked at them and he basically ignores them and lets them know this. Listen closely. You're not part of the vision. You're not part of it. You're not part of the plan. You're not part of the participation. You're not a part of the blessing. You have no part in this. I love that. He basically discounted his enemies as not being a part of the plan that God had for them. Now I want to bring it home. All right? Anyone who comes against God's vision, anyone who comes against God's word, they're not a part of the plan. They're not a part of the vision. And they're not a part of the participation.